So, have you ever wondered how a late night comedy show handles, really serious political topics? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on an episode of Gutfeld to see exactly how it uses humor to build this powerful argument, one that connects everything from international ceasefires all the way down to local culture war squabbles.
All right, so the show just jumps right into it. The main topic, a US-Iran ceasefire. But, instead of some dry, stuffy political analysis, the host, Greg Gutfeld, he leads with a joke. He questions the whole idea of a double-sided ceasefire, and right away, that sets this skeptical, kind of satirical tone for the entire show. It's a clever opening.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the argument. The show basically says, look, the real story here isn't the ceasefire itself, it's the media's reaction to it. And to explain what he sees as this, massive contradiction, Gutfeld rolls out this theory that he calls strategic ignorance.
So here's the contradiction Gutfeld lays out for everyone. He says, first, when the administration talks tough, threatens military action, what happens? The critics call him a warmonger. But then, and this is the key part, when a ceasefire is actually announced, the show argues that those exact same critics suddenly do a 180 and call him a chicken for backing down. See the problem he's pointing out?
And he actually gives this whole idea a name: strategic ignorance. The show defines it as a deliberate choice to just not get the obvious. I mean, it basically boils down to this. He's saying critics are pretending not to see a consistent pattern because it just doesn't fit their political narrative.
In this chart, this really just boils it all down to that classic damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario Gutfeld is painting, right? You threaten war, you're a homicidal maniac. You make peace, you're a chicken who caved. So the whole point the show is making is that these two things can't logically exist at the same time. And they present that as Exhibit A for what they call bad faith analysis.
Now, here's the really crucial part of their argument. The show claims these actions aren't erratic at all. Instead, they're part of a predictable, three-step negotiating strategy. The whole idea is that the extreme threats, that's just step one. It's all part of a larger process designed to force the other side to the table, but from a position of weakness. Okay, so after Gutfeld lays out his main theory, he brings in his panel to kind of chew on it a little, and he's got 4 different guests. Now, for the most part, they all seem to agree with the basic premise, but each one brings a slightly different flavor to the conversation.
First up, you've got Kevin O'Leary, and he immediately shifts the focus over to technology and economics. He's not just looking at this through a political lens. For him, this whole situation is a preview of the future of warfare. He basically argues that it's dominance in artificial intelligence, not necessarily boots on the ground, that's going to decide who wins wars from now on.
Then you have another panelist, Lisa, and she just doubles down on the host's main argument. She connects the administration's actions directly back to the president's book, The Art of the Deal. She's essentially saying, hey, this is classic Trump, it's a negotiation tactic, we've seen this a billion times. And the implication there, of course, is that any critic who doesn't see it, well, they must be being willfully or strategically ignorant. Now, Kat comes in with a much more cautious take. Her point is pretty simple, really. It's just too early to know how any of this is going to shake out. So instead of rushing to judgment, she's advocating for more of a wait-and-see approach. Let's just watch and observe. And rounding out the panel, comedian Adam Hunter brings everything full circle, right back to the show's central theme. He pretty much summarizes the whole thing as a no-win situation for the administration. He's arguing that it doesn't matter what they did, it was always going to be spun negatively by their critics. Okay, and just when you think the whole episode is about foreign policy, the show makes this really interesting pivot. It moves completely away from international affairs and starts applying the exact same critical framework to 3 totally separate domestic stories. The goal? To tie them all together under this one big umbrella of political and media bias. And this is where you can really see the show's method in action. I mean, look at this. It takes 3 things that have nothing to do with each other: a local school board scandal, a bizarre political proposal, and a major city's policy, and it filters all of them through the same critical lens. Each one is presented as just another example of absurdity or hypocrisy or an attempt to silence political opponents. Now, that last topic, the New York City equity plan, that one got the most airtime by far. The panel launched into some really specific critiques. They framed the policy as divisive, even hypocritical. They pointed to the backgrounds of some of the officials involved, and they argued that the very language of the plan was designed to shut down any debate before it could even start. So what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's really how the program pulls all of this together. The show's final argument is that the media's reaction to a ceasefire in Iran, a weird comment at a school board meeting in Tennessee, and an equity plan in New York City, they aren't actually separate, unrelated events. No, they're all just different skirmishes in the exact same overarching cultural and political war.
And all of this really leaves us with one final big question about the show's whole format. I mean, Gutfeld is a comedy show, but it's delivering some pretty pointed political analysis, right? So it makes you wonder, when you use humor, sarcasm, and satire as the delivery mechanism, how does that actually change the way we, the audience, process and remember these political arguments? It's definitely something to think about.